I've got a final speaker, which is Mr. Batten. Can I just check if anyone else wants to speak before I take the final speaker? Okay, Mr. Batten.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Perhaps if I can reassure Ms. Inveld, she was concerned about the free movement of criminals. We have the free movement of criminals. We have plenty of murderers, rapists and paedophiles and organised criminals and gangsters who can come to the UK without let or hindrance. So there's no problem there. Please allow me to have my say. I didn't interrupt you. In view, some other people, Ms. Inveld and somebody else, asked for an overview of the opt-ins and the opt-outs. I very usefully produced one back in January, which you can get from my website, in which I go into some detail and analysis of the whole thing. Now, let's remind ourselves what we're talking about here, which is the substance of the legal instruments and institutions which are going to supersede English law and presumably all your national law as well. Now, English law developed over 8 or 9 centuries, and it has two purposes. It is to prosecute the guilty, but it is also equally important to protect the innocent. And these are going to be directly destroyed by this legislation. Let me talk now about the vote of the House of Commons, because yes, we do actually still pretend to be an independent country, and the House of Commons must vote on this. And David Cameron has very usefully organised that just before the Rochester and True by-election as a PR stunt. But let's remind ourselves what he said. On the 29th of October, he said that he had actually achieved a massive transfer of powers back to the UK by opting out of 100 of these measures, and that the 35 that were being opted into were very important. But he offered the British people some safeguards here. He said that people cannot be extradited for something that is not a crime in the UK. He said that British judges can reject European arrest warrant requests. He said that people will not be detained for long periods of time in foreign countries. Now, let me take those points very quickly one by one. The decision to opt out of 100 measures are actually not very important. These measures in question are fairly minor, they're non-powers, they're duplicate or redundant. There is actually no opting out of powers. These powers are irrelevant. And in fact, the House of Commons Select Committee on this subject concluded that the combination of opt-outs and opt-ins, quote, will not result in any repatriation of powers and may result in the net flow of powers in the opposite direction. And that's already the verdict of the House of Commons. Now, he said that extradition can be refused if a crime is not committed is not a crime in the UK. But this only applies where the crime or part of the crime was committed in the UK. It does not apply to crimes committed outside of the UK. And on the European arrest warrant, as you will all know, I'm sure, it does not relate to specific allegations. Under English law, somebody can only be taken to the court on a basis of a specific allegation of crime and a charge being laid. Under a European arrest warrant, there are 32 categories of crime which in many cases are vague, like fraud, swindling. Well, many people in the UK would take the view that both houses of Parliament are full of fraudsters and swindlers, but they cannot be prosecuted unless there is a specific allegation of crime. But issue an European arrest warrant and somebody can be taken off without any prima facie evidence being presented against them in an English court. Mr. Cameron said that there were powers to refuse extradition, but these are really hinge on proportionality. And people have been objecting to the fact that people can be carted off to a foreign country for the charge of stealing a bicycle, and all this is bad. I don't understand why it's a bad thing to actually extradite somebody on a minor charge with no evidence, but a good thing to extradite them on a very major charge with no evidence. If there's no evidence, there's no evidence, and it doesn't matter what the crime is. Last point. People cannot be detained for long periods of time. That's unknowable and unenforceable because under continental systems of justice where there is a magisterial investigation, once the prisoner is surrendered, we have no idea how long they're going to be detained. Let me wind up, Claude. I can see you're eager for me to stop, so I'll wind up as quickly as I can. The whole point of this is about we are substituting our own centuries-old, tried and tested system of justice for an alien, foreign and unjust system of law. And the significance of this, the final significance, is that we hand we hand the jurisdiction over to the European Court of Justice and take it away from English courts, and that is a permanent move. We will substitute the rule of law for the rule of EU ideology, and I hope that's what the Commons remember when they vote on this, and they actually vote no, not to adopt any of this stuff.
I wasn't eager for you to stop democratic debate. It was more to equalise the speaking time between members, and it was just about exceeding that time. Sophie, do you have a point of order? I hope it's a point of order.
Just one sentence. I'd just like to remind the honourable colleague who just said that a foreign alien system of laws is imposed on the UK. I'd just like to remind him that the UK government and UK MEPs have been part of the decision making, so not so alien after all.
Yeah,
may I respond on that?
Okay,
Thank you for reminding me that our House of Commons is a nest of quizzes, traitors and appeasers.
I don't want to start a dialogue. That wasn't actually a point of... Colleagues, please, order now. I don't want to start a dialogue, but... Monica, come on. Okay. I think... okay, thanks for that helpful point, Sophie.